beings from other dimensions are not coming to this dimension. We are rising up to them. But beings from this dimension who have been seeking the light from all of the ages prior to us in time to this age have been looking for the place of ascension and have been looking for the planet that will turn to the light, and beings from there will ascend. And do you know what this secret little pebble in the sky of the universe is, which is this special planet? It's a special planet called Earth. And that time of ascension is now. And you lucky individual who doesn't believe in lucky sevens, happens to be coming to a new age. And you still think all of this is random. You're about to experience the seven. But we said we're looking for a proof that talked about the strangeness of the dark, that the influence of the others and the changing of our body and the de-evolution of our physicality has already occurred. By the time the prophet tells us the truth, he says, listen, your blood has already been mixed, and the darkness that you were afraid of already runs through you. And the influence spiritually has already occurred. And what you were worried about physically is already passé. And what you're worried about in a spiritual realm is already occurring. So start to believe what is true instead of wondering what is the past. And when we talk about some of these disclosures about beings from the inner realm, both of the dark at the lower levels of the earth and of the light in inner levels of the earth, and beings of the dark both at upper and other levels of this realm and at different levels of technology in our skies, then you have to realize that we have been exposed to so much at so many different levels that those in authority have been lying to us about so many different things because they themselves only know partial parts of the truth, and they have been used and manipulated themselves. And like we always tell you, until that sun changes, everyone has been granted amnesty. If you seek forgiveness, not from me, or from the Pope, or from a rabbi, or from an imam, but seek forgiveness from your Lord, and recognize the signs that we're seeing all around you, then you will learn the pattern. But we said we want to stick to the seven. So the story of the prophet we go straight now into. The patterning of seven, and the prophet goes on the ascension journey. Well, before we go to the ascension journey, we talked about some of the higher realms, and we talked about beings from the higher realms. We've talked about the seven sisters, the Pleiadians, the daughters of Atlas in the higher realms. And let's give a little pop culture plug since we're talking about the higher realms, and we talked about the Pleiadians, and we talked about the idea of the Kaaba and the black stone. Pop culture, the Two Towers, right? J.R. Tolkien's The Two Towers, or the Lord of the Rings series. There's this part of a poem where he says, tall ships and tall kings, 3 times 3, what brought they from the foundered land? Over the flowing sea, 7 stars and 7 stones and 1 white tree. And so we see this pattern come up in so many different places, and it comes up even in pop culture. And so it's an interesting little tidbit. Of course, we've got Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs, an interesting little pop culture pattern. And of course, we said the story of this, the 7-year itch, and that relates to marriage, and even in a lighthearted way, 7 brides for 7 brothers. All you Sanskrit listeners and you Hindi or Urdu fans, Satte Pe Satta, an old Amitabh Bachchan film, right? Works just the same. It's always there. It's always in your pop culture. It's in a lot of different things. But we were talking about negative signs, and we talked about even, well, I don't like to talk about a lot of the stuff that's coming from the future, but since we talk about the changing of the sun, even from Christianity, we have the 7 signs, right? The 7 signs, that there's 7 seals and 7 signs of revelation, and that 7 levels of calamity will occur, that even that process happens in 7 stages. And since we mentioned it, we like to do a lot of pop culture. Of course, we got the movie The Seventh Sign, right? Starring starring Demi Moore. Now, if you haven't seen that movie, there's an interesting reference to something that we've been talking about. An interesting plug to my brothers and sisters from the Jewish community. There's a scene in that movie where they describe the Guf as one of the higher levels, or the over levels, where the lighted souls are like floating birds or beings of light floating around, and that they descend to this world to experience duality. And at a certain point, everybody from that level has experienced this world and tested it. And they call this term the Guf. If you haven't seen the movie The Seven Signs, check it out. A little pop culture plug on the dark side. And so we go back to the story of the prophet, where his miracle is his Isra and Miraj. And we said we've been talking about a lot of pop culture things and numbers and numerology, and talking about the changing of the sun and the coming changes, and people talking about 2012 and numbers. And the prophet goes on a journey, and he goes from this earth to the holy temple of Solomon. And many from the Ahlul Bayt will say that he doesn't go to the physical temple of Solomon here, he goes to the temple of Solomon in the spiritual realm. He goes to the temple of Solomon that is manifested in the inner earth. The seventh level of the inner earth is a land that people call Israel, the land of worshipping Allah, the Lord Most High, the land of Allah, the land of enlightenment, the land of pure holiness, the land of pure lighted soul light. In Sanskrit, they would say Sham, right? ShambAllah, right? The inner light. Now, what is in that center, that holiest of holies, that inner realm, is what? The most beautiful creation. The most beautiful creation that has ever been created in the manifesting earth is the Temple of Solomon. And so the prophet goes there. We're not going into that deep story today. And there he leads the prayer of all of the messengers. And so we have this deep concept that we're saying that beings of the light from other planets who have been searching from the past until now have been coming to this earth. And now even beings in the higher realms and in the skies are gathering now. Is that not so? And the prophet leads there that this earth is the planet of the gathering, that all of the prophets go through their ascension and come here. And he leads them there in the inner realm. What a beautiful experience. And then he goes on the higher level journey, ascending through the heavens to the first and the second and the third and the fourth, all the way to the seventh. And he goes through the various chains of the prophets: Enoch, Idris, Aaron, Moses, John, Yeshua, Jesus, Moses, Abraham. Again, reinforcing a pattern of 7. And there he gets the holy prayer that links all of us on the earth. And then he goes beyond the highest level of the 7th. Beyond the veil, beyond which is your Lord Most High. And the prophet and nothing between your Lord is but a veil. And so we see a pattern and understanding that even in this description of the prophet, that there is 7 levels, and that each prophet is assigned a status